So my name is Rachel and I'm here today for a very exciting video. So you may have seen from the title that I'm going to be talking about bisexuality today. Bisexuality in books and also just like facts and statistics and things like that about bisexuals, because today, September 23rd, is Celebrate Bisexuality Day. As someone who identifies as a bisexual and as someone who feels there is a severe lack of bisexuality in popular culture and in books and in a lot of things, I would like to, you know, make myself a little bit more visible as a bisexual because it bothers me. So firstly, Celebrate Bisexuality Day. What is it? So this is a day to celebrate bisexuals, bisexual community, bisexual history and the people in your lives who are bisexual. So if you know any bisexuals, you should text them today saying happy Celebrate Bisexuality Day and tell them you accept them because that's lovely. And because this channel is a booktube channel, I talk about books a lot. I decided to pick 5 books with bisexual main characters who I adore. These are all books that I would wholeheartedly recommend. I adore them. There are more books out there with bisexual characters, but number 1, I only wanted to pick books that had main characters that were bisexual, and number 2, I wanted to pick ones that were like, I love them, like they're up there. They're very good books. That is why I picked these specific 5 books. There are 3 female characters and 2 male characters on the list, and that is just, you know, my personal preference. I'm obviously gonna lean more towards the FF romances because I like those and I can't be part of an MM romance. Yeah, there is a majority of FF romances, but there are some MM ones that I would highly recommend as well. And interspersed with the books, I just wanted to give you some facts, statistics, or just some thoughts that I have on being bisexual. Obviously, just as a quick disclaimer, every book I'm going to mention here has a bisexual character in it, but that might be part of the plot. This might be a story where someone comes out, and so this could be a slight spoiler for the book, so take that as you will. First book that I want to mention is actually a series, and it's a graphic novel series, and it is Heartstopper by Alice Oseman. So we have a very lovely male bisexual character within this book, and we get to see him realise his sexuality. We get to see him start to develop a relationship with another boy and the confusion that he goes through. I really love this book because one of the things that I think is done really well, it's not done in this one, I think it might be in the first one. This is the second volume, however I've lent the first volume to my best friend because, you know, big up the bisexuals in your life and give them bisexual graphic novels. I don't have the first one, I'm holding up the second one, but I can't remember if it's in the first or the second that he starts to look up bisexuality on the internet and he looks up facts about bisexuals and tries to figure out if he is a bisexual, and that's just very cool. I remember being a teenager and kind of thinking that maybe I was a bisexual but not being absolutely sure if I was, and like going online to try and figure out how someone else knew they were bisexual to try and figure out if I was bisexual, which didn't work. You know, you can't really have someone else tell you how you're going to identify, you have to figure that out on your own, but doesn't stop people trying, does it? And I did try, I will say that. So this is a fantastic book. It features an MM romance, it features FF romances, it also features trans characters, gay characters, lesbian characters. It's all here, and it's very lovely and very well done, so would highly recommend this series. Now moving on to the first fact or statistic, and I will link everything that I get this information from down below in case you want to go and look at these yourself. So the first thing that I want to talk about is about bisexuals and prejudice and who bisexuals receive prejudice from, because it's not fun. It's not fun at all. Bisexual persons are frequently the targets of prejudice, particularly bisexual men. They are often stereotyped as being sexually confused and highly promiscuous. However, such biphobia or bi-negativity doesn't just come from heterosexual people. It also comes from the gay and lesbian community. As just one example of this, both gay and heterosexual individuals report relatively low willingness to become romantically involved with bisexual persons. So the reason that I wanted to talk about this is because this is 100% true. It's not true of everyone, but as someone who does date women, when I tell women that I'm a bisexual, a lot of them, gone. They are ghosting you, they disappear, they don't want to talk to you, they do not want to go out with you if you're a bisexual. I have had conversations with people where I've been talking to them for days and days and days and we've been really getting on. I will mention that I'm a bisexual and they will ask a few more probing questions like, have you actually had a relationship with a girl? Do you think you really are a bisexual, or do you think you're a lesbian? And all these sorts of things, and in the end they will stop talking to me, and it is because they do not like bisexuals. Bisexuals make up a huge part of the LGBT community, but they are one of the least visible, and I think the reason for being one of the least visible is because of this like prejudice that we get from our own community, the LGBT plus community, as well as from just general media, straight people, all of that jazz that goes along with it. I wanted to mention that as something that everyone should try and not do because it fucking sucks and it's horrible and it makes people feel like shit. The next book that I wanted to mention is Her Royal Highness, and this is by Rachel Hawkins. So I actually read this month and I didn't know that it featured a bisexual character. I just knew it had an FF romance in it. So this basically follows a girl from Texas, I think. She's from somewhere that's like heavily accented America, deep southy, that sort of a vibe. And she moves to Scotland to go to a very prestigious university that a lot of royals go to, and she ends up being put in a room with the Princess of Scotland. There is like a royal family of Scotland within this book. They end up rooming together and it's all about their hatred for each other and things that can blossom out of hatred. We all know the tropes, we all know what I'm getting at. The thing that I really loved about this book is there is no coming out within this book. We have a main character who is bisexual who from the get-go talks about relationships she's had with women. Within the first like 100 pages you hear about relationships she's had with men, and she comes out to the people that she's just met at university just being like, oh yeah, I'm bisexual, I like men and I like women, it's fine. And she just lays it out there. It's already done, and the person that she ends up being with already knows that she's a lesbian, and so it was really nice because it kind of has this focus on the story and the relationship instead of a focus on coming out. And coming out stories, brilliant, fantastic, there's more on this list. However, it is nice to have a little bit of different stories going on because there are a lot of coming out stories out there, and once you get to a point where you've come out and that isn't an issue for you anymore, it's kind of like, okay, I want something I can identify with now and I'm not coming out anymore, so can we get some different stories? Fact number 2, being bisexual does not necessarily mean that you are equally attracted to both men and women. Being bisexual involves a capacity for attraction to men and women, but attraction to each sex does not necessarily have to be equally strong. So the reason that I wanted to mention this one is because I would wholeheartedly agree with that. I personally, obviously, have mentioned bisexual, attracted to men and women, but I find women a lot more attractive than men, and I really like having relationships with women. So I would wholeheartedly agree. I do find a lot more women attractive than I find men attractive, and I do like relationships with women better than I like relationships with men, but I am also sexually attracted to men. I've had relationships with men, and it doesn't make me any less a bisexual just because my percentages are a bit skewed. Book number 3 is a book that I don't have a physical copy of, unfortunately. That is something that I will be correcting in the near future, but it is The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo by Taylor Jenkins Reid. I know this book is talked about a lot. This book is very hyped, but it is very hyped for a reason, and I very much love it, so I wanted to mention it anyway. So Evelyn Hugo is about an old Hollywood actress, Evelyn Hugo, who is coming to the end of her career and she's getting quite old now, and it's basically about a reporter who goes to talk to her to talk about her life in like old Hollywood movies and all of that sort of stuff. We basically go through the 7 husbands that she had and which one was the great love of her life. Spoiler, wasn't a man that was the great love of her life. Evelyn Hugo is quite confidently and non-apologetically bisexual, as we can see from the quote, "I'm bisexual, don't ignore half of me so you can fit me into a box." I remember reading that and being like, preach, sister, oh my god. The thing that I absolutely love about this book, just separating it from the bisexual rep and all of the other good stuff, is that it feels like biography I've always wanted of someone like, what is her name? Scarlett O'Hara, what has she got? Vivian Leigh. It feels like the life story of someone like Vivian Leigh, and I absolutely adore Vivian Leigh, if that's not clear. And so reading this book was a real delight. in that way. Also, the characters are wonderful. We do have a mix of different people from the LGBT plus community. We have gay people, we have lesbians, we have bisexuals, wonderful. And we have someone who's really confidently bisexual. And it's really good to have that dichotomy within her of absolutely loving being with men and it not reducing at all her love of being with women, and vice versa. It's a great book. The next fact is a little bit of a sad one, unfortunately, but according to the Bisexual Resource Centre, approximately 40% of bisexual people have considered or attempted suicide, compared to just over a quarter of gay men and lesbians. HRC's health disparities among bisexual people found that when compared to heterosexual adults, bisexual adults reported double the rate of depression and higher rates of binge drinking. Those numbers are even higher for the bisexual people who are also transgender, people of colour and or people with disabilities. So obviously bisexual people need a lot of support, as well as anyone else within the LGBT plus community and anyone of any minority community. But the reason that I'm focusing on bisexuals and the reason that I wanted to make this video and be visible in this video about being bisexual is because honestly there is such a small number of bisexuals represented within media, within books, within TV, and when they are represented they are either misrepresented. Willow Rosenberg, can we just, biggest misrepresentation ever, how is she not bisexual? Or they are written off and treated as if they aren't bisexuals. For instance, someone like Angelina Jolie, who came out as bisexual years and years and years ago, is treated very much as a straight woman who like went bi for a few years. That's not how bisexuality works, but it's the way that it is treated, unfortunately. Next we have a book that I didn't think would be on this list because I've heard about it quite a lot. It's been mentioned in quite a lot of videos on BookTube in the last few months, but I haven't heard anyone mention that there's a bisexual in it. I've only ever heard people mention about an relationship, gay representation and all of that stuff, and I've never heard anyone mention bisexuals. That might be that I've just not watched enough videos. There might be people out there who mention bisexuality, not trying to come for anyone, but part and parcel of the reason that this video is happening. The book is Red, White and Royal Blue by Casey McQuiston. Now I have just finished this, like literally a few hours ago. Feelings very fresh. But this book basically is the most ridiculous concept, very cheesy, very over the top, but a great time. So the first son of the President of the United States has a sort of shitty I hate you kind of relationship with the prince from the UK, and so they kind of have this crappy relationship that ends up with a PR nightmare. And so both of their respective teams are like, right, you guys need to get together, you need to be having friendly altercations, you need to just be good, be nice, to kind of take the heat off this whole situation. And so they start to meet up, just act like friends when they really hate each other, and then they start to like not have so many hatey feelings and other things develop. This book is fantastic in terms of sexual representation, which is really cool. There are very graphic sex scenes within this book, but I think that's really cool because this book has kind of broke through and become a best-selling book, and it has graphic sex scenes in it. You know, it's like a book like Adam Silvera. Adam Silvera does it really well, where he talks about condoms and he talks about sex in general, and this book did that too, and I really appreciated that because I think it's something where, especially if you're an LGBT plus person, you aren't going to get taught the sort of sex education that you need to be taught. Books like this I think would actually be very helpful. It talks about condoms and using lube and different sex acts that you can do. I mean, I wouldn't say there's the broadest range of sex acts in here, but enough to be a good start for books that are being published today, so it's great for that. And also there's just a really good relationship at the heart of it, and there's a lot of acceptance and lovely feelings like that you can get from this book and reading this book. And like I said, there is a bisexual main character in this one who's very cute and very bisexual, and he's male, and male bisexuals are a lot more rare than female bisexuals, mainly because female bisexuals are accepted more. By accepted more I mean heavily sexualized, and so more accepted within society as a whole, whereas male bisexuals are kind of not treated very well. So It's a great book to have some representation of male bisexuals there. Next is a quote from a very amazing document that if you are a bisexual person in work, I would highly recommend you look into. It is a Stonewall PDF document about advice and the kind of struggles that you might face in the workplace and how to go about resolving them and all that sort of stuff. Great document, would highly recommend it. But there is a quote in there from someone who says bisexuality is something that you can still poke fun at, partly because people don't think it's as serious as homosexuality. And I would definitely agree with this. I get mislabeled constantly by people who meet me. I had a big group of friends when I was at college and in my first few years at university, and they would constantly tell me I was a lesbian. All the time, just because I had a girlfriend, and I was like, doesn't make me a lesbian. I've told you about 20 times I'm a bisexual, but it didn't matter. The next time I saw them, they would still call me a lesbian. Every single time. Again, not being seen as being as serious as homosexuality is a big thing. Bisexuals are often made fun of. They're called greedy. They're asked when they're going to make their mind up. All of these really stupid things that you think are funny and you think that you're making a witty little retort that we've never heard before, but actually we hear that kind of shit every single day, and that's the kind of shit that you hear from the people that are close to you as well. There is this sort of biphobia that you get from people you meet on a street, but there is a different level from people who are close to you, from friends and family, who don't really realise that when they make these jokes, they're actually offending you. It's really annoying, and it makes you uncomfortable and you don't like it. So yeah, I would definitely agree with that one. And if there is anyone bisexual in your life, just don't tell them that they're greedy, and don't tell them that they need to make their mind up, because it's not a thing. It's the exact same as saying that you're gay or saying you're a lesbian. You've already made your mind up. You've labelled yourself. That's it, full stop. Now, the last book I want to mention will come as no surprise to anyone who watched my channel, because I talk about it 24/7. I first read this book at the start of this year, and I've already reread it twice since. The other day I finally ordered myself a physical copy of it, so I can actually hold it in my hands now, which makes me very happy. And it also makes me aware that I'm probably going to read it for a fourth time this year, just because I want to read the physical copy of it, because I've only ever listened to the audiobook. But it is Just Juliet by Charlotte Reagan. This is like my favourite of all the LGBT plus kind of books. It's probably in my top 10 books of all time. I absolutely adore this book. If I had had this book when I was a teenager, when I was trying to work out all of the things that were going on in my little sex confused brain, this would have really helped me, and so I would highly recommend it to anyone and everyone. This follows a girl called Lena, and she is just going about her normal life, and a new girl comes to school and she feels a confusing pull to this wonderful girl, and that's, you know, where we go from there. That's the story. A lot of different representations in here. We've got lesbians, we've got gay people, we have a lot of mental health representations like addiction, self-harm, domestic abuse. There's also male-male relationships, female-female relationships. It's got a good range going on, and it's also got bisexual main character Lena, who realises that she's bisexual and is very okay with it, and we kind of follow her coming out to people and their reactions, which is done very well in my opinion. And her parents, I think, are quite a common parent for nowadays. They are the kind of parents who, you know, accept that she's bisexual, but when she goes and dates a boy, they're a lot happier and they're more enthusiastic about it, because they're hoping that, you know, out of this 50-50 lottery she'll end up with a boy in the end. I think that is something that a lot of people who are bisexual can relate to. I think there are a lot of parents out there like that. I'm just going to say specifically my parents aren't like that, because my mum will probably watch this video and she'll get offended and think that I mean her, and I don't. One of the quotes from this wonderful, lovely book is, I really liked the term bisexual, and the more I read and learned, the more I realised it added up almost exactly to how I had felt my whole life. Even things I hadn't realised I was feeling. I kept the label in my head for a few days, and each time I woke up and thought, I am bisexual, it seemed to take a weight off my shoulders. This is what I would recommend most highly to people watching this video, especially if you are of the FF persuasion bisexual, because number one, cutest romance ever, number two, great bisexual representation, and number three, I haven't read a book with better bisexual representation. Even out of all of these, this is still going to be my favourite, and it probably will be for a long time. I just absolutely adore it. Would highly recommend it because it's fantastic. Probably going to be my favourite book of the year. The last fact is unfortunately another sad one, but I thought it was quite important to mention. So there was a piece of research done called the National Intimate Partner and Sexual Violence Survey, which I will again link down below as I'll have linked everything else. This was released in January 2013 and gives the most detailed data ever on how partner violence affects women's lives, with results broken down by sexual orientation. The numbers don't lie. Nearly half of bisexual women, 1 in 8 lesbians and 1 in 6 straight women have experienced rape at some point in their lifetime. These statistics are significant because we can see how bi women's experience is distinct from women of other orientations, and the urgent need to address partner violence from the bi community. Now yes, I understand that was from January 2013, but if you look around the world today, do you really think that's going to have changed very much? I would say not. That's a really worrying statistic, and it would definitely link in with some of the experiences that I've had. I know that me and an ex-girlfriend were offered money to make videos for someone. We were constantly told in nightclubs that one night with some random drunk idiot would set us straight. Sufferable pun. There's lots of things like that, and bisexual women are heavily sexualized within just society in general. Apparently most of us are bisexuals so that boys can have a great threesome with 2 girls. It's fucking infuriating, and it's out there, and it's a thing that happens all the time. It's one of the reasons that I don't come out in every single facet of my life. I'm out to my family, I'm out to my friends. I've been out in jobs before, but I always keep it to myself for a while and check whether I'm safe inside a little working community before I will come out. And I haven't come out to the people that I now work with because I'm not sure whether I'd be safe yet, and that kind of sucks. And that's really common. There are a lot of people who just won't come out in general to people at work. Again, check the Bisexuality at Work thing that I will link down below because that is a really great resource. This is supposed to be a very positive video. That's why I wanted to mention 5 amazing instances of bisexual main character representation because they are all fantastic and beautiful, and I would highly recommend them. I just wanted to make this video to be visible and to sort of lend my voice to celebrate Bisexuality Day. So I really hope that you have a great day. If you're a bisexual, happy Bisexuality Day. If you are not, happy Bisexuality Day. Tell your bisexual friends that you accept them because that's just a lovely thing to do. Go and pick up some great bisexual books. They will all be linked down below along with all of the research that I mentioned so that you can go and do your own research and check out whatever you want to check out if you would like to. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!